This is chapter 26 of the Nowhere Emporium, and it is called An Unexpected Visitor. It is set in Edinburgh in June 1897. Lucian Silver's Emporium was the talk of Edinburgh and far beyond. There were days when the shop was so busy that he barely remembered a face, the stream of customers becoming a blur of smiles and compliments. But on the first anniversary of the Emporium's opening, Lucian was introduced to a face he would never forget. He had placed an advertisement in each of the city newspapers, announcing that entry to the Emporium would be free. On the day itself, Silver sat at his desk near the red velvet curtain, nodding to passing customers. Many of them commented that it seemed impossible that so many wondrous rooms could exist in a stick-thin little shop. Near the end of the day, someone approached the desk. At first, Lucian did not look up from his book, but then he heard a familiar voice, deep and firm and cold. "Hello, Lucian." Vindictus Sharpe had not aged a day since their last encounter in the rainy Edinburgh graveyard. This did not shock Lucian. In his travels before he settled back at Edinburgh, he had discovered layers of magic that were hidden to all but a select few, magic that could unlock the mysteries of life and time and the universe. He was more certain now than ever that he knew the secret to Vindictus Sharpe's long life. Sharpe was stealing the future from innocent people, stealing time and adding it to his own life. Lucian stood. He had been waiting for this moment for a long, long time, to be able to rub his success in Sharpe's face, to show him how wrong he'd been. He actually stayed awake at night imagining exactly what he'd say if they ever crossed paths again. This was the chance. Something shifted behind Sharpe. He moved aside, and Lucian's eyes met those of a second person. All thoughts of Sharpe were lost. The young woman was perhaps a year or two younger than Lucian. Her skin was fair and freckled, and her hair fell in tumbling red curls over her shoulders. "This is Michelle, my daughter," said Sharpe. Michelle held out a porcelain hand, and Lucian kissed it. As his lips touched her skin, the air in the room seemed to shiver and crackle. Lucian pulled at his necktie. "Pleasure to meet you. I don't recall your father ever mentioning a daughter." Sharpe sat on the edge of the desk and began examining one of Lucian's fountain pens. "There are a great many things I did not mention. Michelle has been in boarding school most of her life. I travel the world, and that is no way for a young girl to grow up." Lucian nodded. He felt his gaze drawn back to Michelle. "Well, what can I do for you?" he asked. "What brings you to Edinburgh?" "Business," said Sharpe. "I am booked to perform in Edinburgh for 1 month. Word of your work has reached me from the Magic Committee." At this he glanced around the shop. "I could not resist stopping by for a peek." Lucian smiled. "Then a peek you shall have. Miss Sharpe, would you care for a tour of my Emporium?" Michelle Sharpe's blue eyes met Lucian Silver's thunder grey ones. She smiled a shy smile. "I'd like that very much, Mr. Silver," she said. And so Lucian led the way, taking great delight in Michelle's amazement, using every opportunity to remind Sharpe how the idea for the Emporium was born in the very same notes he had dismissed as nonsense. 2 hours later, when the tour was complete, Lucian watched Sharpe and his daughter stride down the narrow street. He was sure of 2 things. Number 1, he had surpassed Sharpe in every possible way. More importantly, Sharpe was aware of this fact, and it would eat away at his insides like an infestation of maggots. This thought made Lucian very happy. Number 2, Michelle Sharpe was nothing like her father. She was enchanting and warm, and Lucian knew that he must, no matter what it took, see her again. His wish was granted the next day. Michelle returned to the Emporium, and this time she was not with her father. "I had to see it all again," she confessed. "It is remarkable and impossible. I couldn't stop thinking of you or your Emporium when I left." They walked the shop's ever-growing number of corridors, Michelle laughing in delight when rain began to fall in one of the passageways. Lucian produced a black umbrella seemingly from nowhere and held it over her head. The day passed in a haze of shy laughter. As she left, Michelle gave him a lopsided smile. I don't think my father likes you very much. Lucian breathed in her words. The feeling is mutual, he said. You're not scared of him the way everyone else is, are you? Michelle said. No, being frightened of him is only giving him what he wants. Michelle beamed at him. Then she did something he had not been expecting. She leaned in, pressing her lips gently against his mouth. When the kiss was over, Lucian stumbled back a step, ran flustered hands through his tangled hair. What was that for? But she only smiled and turned away, through the door to the cool Edinburgh sunshine. Lucian watched her, his face pressed against the glass of the shop window, until she turned the corner and was gone. Lucian and Michelle spent every day of the following month together, hidden away from the world. Each night he would create a new wonder to bewitch her. The sound of her laughter was intoxicating, and the touch of her lips a drug to which he soon became addicted. Beat by beat, Michelle Sharpe was stealing Lucian Silver's heart. If only he had known what was next on her list.